In one of my more recent videos, I discussed how Nintendo was going to announce a new Metroid game for the Nintendo Switch, presumably a 2D side-scroller that would be a return to form for the series. Yet while I did say that the title would take place after Metroid Fusion for the series as a whole, I didn't provide specifics on what this would really look like. In theory, having a sequel to the latest Metroid game in the timeline would make perfect sense, but the reason it hasn't been done. Metroid as a franchise is, sad to say, virtually dead. It was at its height, in my opinion, around the time Metroid Prime and Prime Echoes came out for the GameCube. Ever since Prime 3, though, Nintendo's been throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something will stick. Take a look at Metroid Other M. It's been over a decade since we got a good new Metroid game, and the fan base behind the series has grown only more hungry for a new entry. I've long been thinking that Nintendo needs to diversify their games besides cutesy games, and Breath of the Wild, Astral Chain, and others are doing just that. But then there's Metroid. Metroid is the storytelling franchise for Nintendo, more so than any other series, including Zelda. They need this series to succeed, but that's not going to happen unless they promote it vigilantly. Even so, many of the original players of Metroid games have grown up and lost touch with the games, and as I said, Metroid is a story series, so many will want to have experienced the previous games before playing a game like Metroid Prime 4. So how does one make a new Metroid game that acts as a reboot of the series while also pushing the timeline forward? 1. Metroid Prime games don't need to be only prequels. Prime 4 could take place after Fusion and propel the series forward. Before that release, though, the rumored new 2D Metroid game coming in 2020 could be a hybrid between the new and the old. It could be set right before Fusion and provide a deep history of the series built into its story. Maybe Samus is sent on a mission where the villain uses her fear against her and forces her to relive a handful of experience from the previous games, where she needs to battle bosses such as Ridley and Mega Ridley. That's just an idea though, but as you can see, this would be a way to reboot the series and allow for more and more people to become involved in Metroid. Option 2 is my personal favorite and involves Metroid Prime Trilogy HD. In 2020, a new 2D Metroid game comes out and, as rumored, is a sequel to Metroid Fusion. In the beginning, though, they offer a short recap of the series, thus appealing to newcomers. In spring of 2021, usually a barren time for Nintendo games, a complete remastering of Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out with updated visuals and some quality of life improvements. It would be $60 and appeal to Metroid fans and newcomers alike. With the proper marketing, it could top 3 million sales by the end of the year at least. Following that, in September of 2021, Nintendo could update their online service yet again, this time to include ports of all mainline Metroid games besides the Prime Trilogy. Finally, holiday of 2021 could see the release of the long-awaited Metroid Prime 4. This plan would allow time for the series to gain momentum coming up to the big-time release of Metroid Prime 4. While it might see some competition that holiday, it is different enough from other Nintendo series that it would be very unlikely that it would cannibalize its sales. A quick third option, if you will, would be to add multiplayer to Prime 4 and have the Metroid Prime Trilogy come months before Metroid Prime 4. If Metroid Prime 4 had a big emphasis on its multiplayer, it could become the halo of Nintendo Switch. Even while having a major campaign, having a multiplayer would appeal to newcomers. But either of those two main options have the potential of revitalizing a somewhat dead series, but with the latter providing a much better chance of doing so. And while I'm sure there's a third or fourth better option that I'm completely forgetting about, that's what I was able to come up with, and if anyone's got a better idea on how to put Metroid at the top of the sales charts, please let me know. I think everything comes down to the next couple of years, but hey, that's just me.